Good morning, everyone. How are you? Welcome to the program, The Diana Wright Show, live online. Thank you so much for joining me. And we welcome each and every one of you from around the world and in the United States as we begin the show right now. And we're going to start today with none other than politics. But before we get to politics, I just want to read something I have for you today. God gave you the power to love. Stop living in fear. Start the process of loving yourself today to get to the promise, because life is indeed a process and a journey to get to the promise. So I just wrote that down and thought you might want to mull it over in your head and think about it as you go about your day today. And remember, keep loving who you are, keep loving yourself, teaching your children to love themselves. It's a wonderful world despite all the vicissitudes of life. All right, so we begin now. It is indeed Sequester Day. Yeah, it's March 1st. It's Sequester Day, and it's also the day the journey begins in Rome to choose the next pope. Yeah, they might be officially doing it on Monday or whatever, but voting starts on Monday. So I guess I'm told they're not politicking the way we politicians in America campaign for, winning seats, but there's, gentle, gentlemanly persuasion that goes on behind the scenes. So as they gather in the conclave of the Vatican, then the cardinals will come out with, black smoke, white smoke, whatever smoke. So we'll know for soon who will be the next pope. But Sequester Day is today. And lots of people are joking around to see, is the bridge falling down? Or how's the line in the airport? Or what's happening down there? And they're making a big joke of it. I don't think it's funny. I really don't think it's funny, because it's absolutely shameful that two political parties cannot get together and do the people's business, because that's what it is. It's about the American people and the fact that they elected politicians to go to Washington and run the government. And right now, they all went on vacation, then they came back from vacation, then they left again yesterday. What is going on? So President Obama is meeting with all the congressional leaders this morning, I think at about 10:30, just about now, or somewhere there, right? And we want to see what they're going to come out and say to us after that meeting. Because what exactly are they thinking is going to come out of that meeting when all this time they had prior to this event, nothing happened? And Speaker Boehner is insisting on saying that the White House need to pass the bill. Did I hear correctly? Because I did not know that the White House could pass a bill. Can they? I'm not quite sure about that. So I kind of listened to different folks. I didn't think the president could pass any bills. I thought that took place in Congress. And Speaker Boehner is indeed the speaker. So how exactly does that work? Sometimes I just wonder if these guys, are they just there for the power and the prestige of the job? And, John Boehner just loved to say, I am the Speaker of the House of Representatives. But what are they really doing for us? What are they doing for us as the American people? Who put them there to work for us? Everybody's just trying to figure out when is the next election and what they're going to do and how they're going to win the next election. 2014, 2016. They're kind of skipping over 2014 and going right to 2016, if you ask me. So, I am here to ask if the president can actually pass the bill. I don't think he can, but maybe I'm wrong. So someone might just want to enlighten me live on the Diana Wright Show online. 561-228-1921. That's 561-228-1921. And imagine this. We're coming back to Florida right now. 100 feet. Just think of 100 feet in your head. And that's the size of the sinkhole that's somewhere in Tampa, near Tampa, at a house that has swallowed a young man and almost swallowed his brother when the brother tried to save him. The hole sucked in the mattress and the young man, and now he's presumed dead. Which leads me to a point of what are the people, the contractors, the builders in Florida, what are they building our houses on? We're told that particular house is limestone that's under there, and because it's dry and we have not had a lot of rain in Florida, so hence sinkhole. A few companies have had issues. I know there was a big one in Pembroke Pines. I think it was Lennar, that a whole lot of homes sunk because they were not dumped up properly. They were dumped up with bottles and cans and garbage and all kind of stuff when they went in there. But this one, I gather, is the worst that they've ever seen. Just sucking someone in their bed, in the bedroom only, his bedroom, sucked him down in that hole. So I am truly wondering, what are the houses in Florida built on? Are we safe? It's not the first time. Should we be worried about this, or should we not be worried about this? Increíble, I think, is what we need to think. But anyway, you might notice that they're raving about house prices going up. And that makes me wonder. House prices are going up, yet so many homes, so many homeowners, their properties are still underwater. So how are home prices going up, which is wonderful for all the rich guys who are coming from all around the world to buy up all the properties for cash, no doubt. Yet most of the houses are underwater in terms of their value. I'm sure everyone is familiar with that term by now. So are we here again going down the same avenue, the same street, the same bad move, which is trying to rush home prices before they're actually needing or should be going up? Are we not remembering 07, 08, 04, actually, go all the way back to 04, when all the prices were skyrocketing? So are we then trying to create another bubble that will knock our pants off this time? Not our socks, our pants will be knocked off. What are we doing? Is this a real resurgence of home prices? Or is it a fake one that's going to create another bubble, especially in Florida? Because remember, the whole thing really started here in 03 or 04. So let us not get too happy and too joyful about this until the houses in Florida that are underwater have actually gotten from under that water. Okay? So I just want to ask people to take heed and just stop for a moment and not believe the hype. Because right now it seems to me that it is a hype, because all these investors are coming from around the world and they are buying up the houses and they're paying for them in cash, which most of us cannot afford to do. and they're getting what they call deals, and the flipping has begun again. Let's remember what happened to us in 2008, the end of 2007 into 2008. People, beware of this new bubble that we're trying to create in the housing market again. All right? I just think people need to be a little cautious about that, because it seems to me that we're just barking down the wrong tree again. So let's be cautious about the housing market and the bubble we are trying to create again, to create issues that will allow people who are homeless, who committed suicide, who are living in their cars. We don't want to see a repeat of that. It would be just simply wrong. All right? Anyway, let's move. And we're still in Florida, but even though New York is involved, because we're talking about Senator Marco Rubio. Well, I have to make sure I read every single thing that was said by Peter King. He's a representative from New York. Don't forget, he's a Republican. I just love him, though, because he knows how to tell off his own party members. He did it the other day, and he's doing it again. He said this: Rubio has some balls to fundraise in New York. Why so harsh, you ask? Marco Rubio, if you can remember, voted against federal funding for the victims of Hurricane Sandy that affected New Yorkers in an insurmountable way. So King added, being from New York, we're not supposed to be suckers. It's bad enough that these guys, referring to Rubio now, voted against it. That's inexcusable enough, he says. But to have the balls to come in and say, we screwed you, now make us president. I must insist that Senator Rubio, ladies and gentlemen, you remember, he is the Tea Party candidate from Florida. Don't forget it. He is the Tea Party candidate from Florida who's trying to be president of the United States of America. Now, there are lots of people who are comparing him to Barack Obama. I'm here to say he's no Barack Obama. And the comparison, there's actually no comparison. So for the folks who are trying to do that, you need to give it up. Just give it up and stop it. There is absolutely no comparison between Marco Rubio and then Senator Barack Obama, who is now a twice elected president of the United States of America. King added now, he said, New York donors should cut off Rubio and any other Republicans who threw a knife in the back of New Yorkers. Now, if that is not telling you like it is, there's nothing else. And don't forget that Peter King, the representative from New York, is a Republican. He's not a Democrat. He sounds like one, but he isn't. Because you see, Marco Rubio is so busy going to Israel and doing his tours in Guatemala and putting out photos. Is he doing anything for the people of Florida who voted for him? Or is he just trying to see how quickly he can get a beeline to being the next president of the United States if he manages to win the primaries of the Republican Party, which, as you know, how nasty that gets. Remember the days of the Republican primary when we could not believe what we were hearing? when we could not believe 1 week they had leader here, next week there was another person in front, from Michelle Bachmann to Newt Gingrich to Rick Santorum, there was a different person at the helm every single moment you turned your head. So Marco Rubio, we're not forgetting that you are a Tea Party candidate. And you're part of the Tea Party candidates who are in Congress, who are obstructing the government, obstructing the president, and operating under the guise of revenge and hate. We won't forget. And I don't care how you dress up that monkey or how you dress up your policies, they're going to be just the same. So, Mr. Marco Rubio, I would advise you, if you need to hear me, you need to start working for the people of Florida and hope they re-elect you as senator when your term ends, instead of trying to be president of the United States and touring around the world. And have the nerve to go to New York. And then even the other day, he voted against the Violence Against Women's Act. And then come out and act as if he was a nicer, gentler guy. Hypocrisy in Washington is just getting to be too blatant. I think most Americans have decided to check out. And based on the poll that was done by NBC and the Wall Street Journal this week, yeah, a lot of Americans have checked out, just about 25% of them. They've checked out of the theatrics in Washington. They've checked out of the showmanship of Speaker Boehner. They've checked out of Speaker Boehner getting so mad that he's cursing. And yes, he told us he's going to the White House for the meeting with the president today, but this is the same message I'm going to the White House with. Does Mr. Boehner understand what the meaning of the word compromise is? Negotiations is? And when you negotiate, there is never a time that anyone, whether Democrat or Republican or business person or not, get everything they want. It just doesn't work that way. It absolutely does not work that way. So I hope that when Mr. Speaker Boehner, because he loves the speakership, you see, it gives him power, and he pushes his shoulders back and he stomps the podium. Ooh. And we're supposed to be frightened when he curses and gets mad. So I hope he doesn't go to the White House with the same attitude, because I'm sure they probably will call security and think he's going crazy or something. So, Speaker Boehner, be on your best behavior and learn the meaning of the word compromise and the word negotiation, because I think you really need to do that. Okay, so we're still waiting to see what the fallout is going to be from the sequester, because of course, you know, today is actually March 1st and no agreement was gotten to. Okay. And the meeting at the White House, I don't hold up a lot of hope for that. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. But let's wait and see what happens. I'm sure we'll know by about 11:30 when I get off the air. Once again, welcome each and every one of you from around the world and in the United States. This is the Diana Wright Show live online. And should I be saying my name is Diana Wright? I don't think so. Anyway, Peter King, I applaud you for telling Marco Rubio, a member of your party, just the way that he should stick it. Okay? Because that is really important to see that you're bold enough. Well, he kind of told them off the other day when they decided not to vote on the bill, and they decided not to take the phone call of Chris Christie, the governor of New Jersey. And he got hopping mad too and told them off, and hence he's not invited to their little CPAC conference with all the bunch of losers that they have going there. And wonderfully enough, Chris Christie said yesterday, I did not know I was not invited or remember about CPAC until I heard it on the media. So who knew how important it is of CPAC to not have extended an invitation to the most popular governor in the country? Did you hear me? I said in the country. His popular approval rating is over 70%. And the Republicans decided to snub him because he decided to be a proper politician and speak to the president respectfully of the United States, Barack Obama, when his state was devastated by Hurricane Sandy. And then he dared to go on television and praise the president for his good work. That infuriated the Republicans because, in their minds, in their little denial dream world mind of fantasy, they thought that Mitt Romney was actually going to win up until that moment. And I'm not quite sure what planet they were living on, but the planet of Karl Rove and all the other Republicans and all the donors who gave all those millions, I just wonder if they never, ever, ever thought about the urban voters, as was called by Paul Ryan. The urban voters, the brown voters that are Spanish, I guess they thought that those people would never vote. And the brown people who are Chinese, maybe they wouldn't have come out to vote. Yes, they did. And the election is over, and I wished and pray that you all get over it. Stop keeping up hate in your hearts and move on and do the business of the American people for which you were elected to do. Thank you very much. All right. I am kind of wondering, and I think a lot of folks are asking, who is running the Catholic Church right now that Pope Benedict XVI has gone to his vacation home to wait until his permanent home is refurbished at the Vatican? Yeah. Who is running the church right now? I think there is an answer here. This is called empty seat. Sede vacante. Okay? That's what it's called right now. Because if a pope died, that's what it would be called. And they will just wait the time out. And then they'll get the cardinals together and they put in a new pope, just like they did when John Paul died. Okay? So the Cardinal Chamberlain of Camerlengo, he currently is the Vatican Secretary of State, Tarcisio Bertoni. He's in charge of running the church right now, working with 3 cardinal assistants. They are chosen at random and are replaced every 3 days. Can you imagine that? Changing your staff every 3 days? I thought that was quite a wow moment. Wow. Every 3 days? Okay. Pope Benedict used the helicopter because traffic is horrible in Rome. And guess what? Did you know that the Pope was also a pilot? They say that the Pope, normally, when he's going to his vacation house, he hops in that helicopter and pilots himself to his vacation home himself. Yeah, he's done that many times, they say. So, his private secretary will go along with him, and he is quite a handsome one. Now, when I saw him yesterday, I thought of a priest, a Jesuit priest, that was on one of my Diana Wright shows when we were filming in Jamaica. And he was so gorgeous. All the girls in the crowd kept saying, "Why did you become a priest?" And a Jesuit one at that. So, they have to be celibate. So this handsome, very, very handsome person is the private secretary of the Pope. So he's Archbishop George. Yeah? So he will be staying on with the Pope as the head of the house, and then he will also offer his services to the new pope, but the new pope can get rid of him at random for any reason. Doesn't matter. So just in case the new pope don't like him or whatever, he'll just say, I don't need your services any longer. So that's part of what is going on in Rome at the moment, just in case you were wondering and just in case you cared. Pope Benedict will also be known as Pope Emeritus and will retain the honor of His Holiness. After his resignation becomes effective, which was yesterday, he will still wear a robe, but he will not have that gorgeous cape that he normally wears as Pope, and he will also have to retire that gorgeous red shoes. So people are wondering what color shoes he's going to wear now. Does it have to be brown or black? It can never be red. And he said he will indeed obey the next pope. So I am totally fascinated by the Catholic Church and the pomp and pageantry of the Catholic Church and the robes and the candles and, those gorgeous headgears that they wear. And oh my goodness, the Catholic Church is such a fascination. I'm not Catholic, but it is. I've been to Catholic churches quite a few times when people were trying to convert me to become Catholic when I was living in Jamaica. It's just their churches are always so beautiful, so grand, and, filled with gold and ornament and it actually pulls you in. When you go into a Catholic church, there's something about a Catholic church that when you enter it, I've also been to weddings at Catholic churches, and it's just a sight to see. There's something about the Catholic Church that actually draws you in. I think it's just the pomp and pageantry of the whole thing and the beauty of the church itself, inside and out. Most Catholic churches, if they're not beautiful outside, they're beautiful inside. And the whole, rituals of candle and incense and all that kind of stuff. It's just fascinating to me. Which kind of brings me to another church thing that kind of got me rattled this morning with my good friend. And we were just talking about the fact that the Sabbath is indeed the Sabbath, whether you choose to have it on Sunday or Saturday. Well, the Sabbath keepers of Saturday just seem to believe that they have the whole thing cornered. And I'm wondering, and I can't wait for Pastor Monrose to come back on the show so I can ask him. Is it that only the people who keep the Sabbath on a Saturday are on their way to heaven? Are those people the only people who are obeying the Ten Commandments? Because a lot of churches are New Testament churches, and they say you don't have to live under the law of the Old Testament. But there are questions, you see, because a lot of the laws in the New Testament are kind of replicas of ones in the Old Testament, even though they are not worded the same way and they don't appear to be the same exact thing. But my thing is, and what we were arguing about this morning, is the fact that if someone is working on a job and, when you go in and you fill out the forms, because I've had that experience myself when I was anchor and director of news in Jamaica, there was a member of the staff, my staff, that was Seventh-day Adventist, and he couldn't work on Saturdays. And sometimes there were just urgent things that had to be done on a Saturday, and he couldn't come to work. So it created a lot of issues and a lot of problems for him on the job. Even though they knew he was indeed seventh day, he couldn't work on the Sabbath, even though, something major happened in the news and they needed him to be there. Okay. So the argument was this morning that I believe, this is my opinion now, I believe that if someone takes a job, they write on their form that they cannot work on Sabbath because of their religious beliefs, so they're Sabbath keepers. That's fine. Don't have a problem with that. But if there's an emergency on that particular job, and that person is being asked to work on a Sabbath, not every Sabbath now, a Sabbath, I don't think That with the fact that there's economy and you have to take care of your household financially and all those kind of things, that you need to tell me that you're going to quit your job because your employer asked you to work one Sabbath? I think that's absurd and ridiculous. Because it's not like they're saying to you, okay, we're taking away this, like Marissa Mayer, who decided to chop off the legs of all the mothers that were telecommuting. This is your employer asking you, okay, we know we have an agreement that you don't work on Saturdays, but here we have a situation and we're asking you to work this Sabbath. You're going to quit your job because of that? Well, Pastor Monrose, I cannot wait for the month to go by so you can come again, because, I am burning with this question. And I am not, I'm looking at the Bible that I read, and I think everybody reads the same Bible. Yeah, you have the New Age and this kind of age and whatever, different Bibles, but I'm a King James fan. All right? And there is absolutely no place in the Bible that tells me that if there's a need, because I don't know what the need is on the job. I don't know what kind of job the person is doing. But if you're asked to work one Saturday, you're going to give up your career, your job, whatever it is, just because you refuse. And then you're telling me that is the one commandment you're willing to give up your job for, yet there's so many other things going on in the church: fornication, malice, envy, workers of iniquity, and all those other things. But that one thing you're going to tell me that you can't do for your boss? Well, I think that's ridiculous. Maybe they're pastors in the Adventist realm or Church of God realm, because there's a division between Church of God and Adventists. Even though they worship on a Saturday, it's two different kind of thing. And within the Adventists, there's black and white. Oh my goodness. Can't we just be one people? And when you think of racism, there's more racism in the church than any place else. So sometimes I do wonder, which God are these people serving? And who will go to heaven and who won't? That's my question for this day. If you are employed at a company and everyone knows that you can't work on a Sabbath, whether your Sabbath is Saturday or Sunday, because everybody has their choices, or if you're Muslim or whatever, and your boss has an emergency or something has come up out of the norm and ask you to work that one Sabbath, are you going to say to that employer, I quit because I'm not working on the Sabbath? And you know that you don't have any money, and you know that you can't pay your bills without that paycheck. Don't you think what would Jesus do in a situation like that? I would like to know. Seriously. I would like to know. I have it down as a question to ask any other preacher that comes on my show as of now. That's one of the questions that will be asked. And are the people who keep the Sabbath on a Saturday, because the people who keep it on a Sunday believe they're keeping the Sabbath too, are the people on the Saturday only the ones that are going to go to heaven? So that means a whole lot of folks are going to hell right now, because there are more Sunday churches than Saturday churches, and the congregations are all bigger. I really don't know one Saturday church that is a mega church. And if there's one, someone needs to tell me. So is it that we are putting up all these regulations and rules around ourselves that limits us from even thinking beyond the pale? Now, there are people who, and I remember the scripture that Jesus asked, should we not take care of this sick man because it's a Sabbath? Yes, you should. So I guess nurses and doctors shouldn't go to work on a Saturday. And who will take care of the sick at the hospital? We could go down this road in a whole lot of places. What about the cop who is worshiping on a Saturday? He should not go and do his job, even though that job may mean that you're protected, or he's protecting a whole community. And especially in essential services like the air traffic controller, nurses, doctors. Are they always going to be able to turn off their phone on a Saturday? And if a patient is dying, they would not go because it's a Sabbath? Something for each and every one of us to think about, because today is Friday, you see, and the Sabbath starts at sundown. And I know the Sabbath well because my grandmother was one of the strictest Sabbath keepers that I know. After church on a Saturday, after going all day, you got to come home and you got to go to sleep. And you have to be quiet, make no noise until after sundown. No fire can be lit until after sundown. So I know all about it. I went to a Seventh-day Adventist boarding school. Okay? And after church, again, we had to be in that dorm very quiet. And anyone spoke or made a noise, they were punished. Severely too. By the house mother. Yeah? So I do know about Seventh-day Adventists. But I question all the other things that are going on, because if we're so strict about this one thing, shouldn't we be so strict about all the other things that goes on in the church? And all the preachers that act as if sometimes they are gods, and then they fall from grace, and we are so disappointed and devastated about it when it happens. So here you go. If you go to church on a Saturday, if you go to church on a Sunday, if you are a Christian that worships on a Saturday, a Christian that worships on a Sunday, who goes to heaven? Who is on the journey to heaven? And which one is worshiping which God? That's my question on this day. Not meaning to offend anyone, because, people, they just take things and not dissect it and look at it in an objective way. I'm simply asking a question. And I'd love to hear the answer. And I'm going to get someone on here to answer those questions to me, because I'm not a pastor. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a doctor of divinity or theology. But I do read my Bible. And I think I've read my Bible through at least 3 times. Just last year, I did. And I clearly remember Jesus performing miracles on the Sabbath day. So let's evaluate this and see how strict we really need to be. Because I do believe that if your employer asks you to work on a Saturday and he knows that you're a Sabbath keeper, he's probably asking you because he has no one else to do that job. And I personally think you should oblige. And then, you go and you explain it to your pastor why you had to work. And I'm sure that pastor will not be persecuting you for that. So, anyway, moving right along as we move to Tennessee. In Tennessee, so many ridiculous things are happening these days. Because here's another ridiculous one. In Tennessee, a restaurant manager decided to change, or shall I say, to charge a woman to pee because she was not eating at the restaurant. Anyway, this is how the story goes. Patricia Barnes, who is the person that went to pee, says she rushed into the restaurant, and the restaurant is called the Flood Zone in Erin, Tennessee. And she asked a woman behind the counter if she could use the restroom. The lady said yes, And she went along her merry way, used the bathroom, and left. On her way out, she was pointed out by an employer, or an employee, I should say, because it wasn't the manager at that point, who said and asked her if she did not see the sign that says that if you use the bathroom and you're not eating at the restaurant, you have to pay $5. So it's $5 to pee in Tennessee. Okay. Days later, this lady, Patricia Barnes, received in the mail a handwritten note signed management from the restaurant stating that she should have seen the sign that was there. Now, the lady, Patricia, is explaining that the sign that she was supposed to have seen was on the mirror, and it was so small she did not look in the mirror. All she did was use the bathroom and left, wash her hands and left. She did not look at the mirror, in the mirror. She had no need to look in the mirror. Now, how, you might ask, did this guy, the manager of the restaurant, get the lady's address to send her a letter in the mail to bill her for the $5? How did he do it? He went to the police. And the police, I guess he wrote down the lady's license plate number and whatever, and wasted the policeman's time, in my opinion, and the state and the city's money to track this woman's address down for him to send this handwritten note for $5. $5? You might ask. So it's $5 to pee in a restaurant in Tennessee called the Flood Zone in Erin, Tennessee. So make sure if you're in Tennessee and you need to pee and you're not going to eat some food, do not stop in that restaurant because you need to pay $5 to pee. Now, is that the height of ridiculousness or is it not? Are people just losing their sense of self-sense and just continue in the road of stupid? And as I read the story and I saw all the comments that were coming in, if I were that manager, I would just go home and close the door and put the sheet over my head. Because did he think? First of all, he's wasting the time of the police who could be doing something. And I blame the policeman too. $5? Do you know, it must have costed so much more for the whole track down thing to find the address than the $5 that the woman owed. He could have just taken out the $5. If I were that cop, I'd have taken out $5 out of my pocket and give it to him. And see how much better he would have felt. Shameful. Ridiculous. What other words do you want to come up with? Welcome once again to the Diana Wright Show live online right here as we ask you to give us the thumbs up on Facebook, like us on Facebook, tweet us, call us 561-228-1921 if you'd like me to come and speak at your function, at your church, so I can give the church a little advice about those investors who are coming in trying to cheat you out of your money. Okay. All right. So I just wondered about that story, and I actually think that that story is absolutely ridiculous. So moving right along. And if you are indeed a manager of a restaurant, would you do something like that? Would you rather someone peed on themselves than to use the lavatory in your restaurant and not eating? Ugh, $5. So I wonder who collects the money. Does someone stand at the door and wait for someone who is not eating to say, hey, you need to pay $5? How does that system work? I'd like to know. Because I think it's a ridiculous system. Okay. All right. Here's another one. This one is not ridiculous, but it kind of ties into the whole Christianity thing, the Sabbath keeping thing that I was talking about. Because if you take a job from a school as a teacher, as an aide, as an employee, and you know that the policy of that Christian school is that if you get pregnant out of wedlock, you cannot continue your employment. So, a Christian school fires a pregnant woman over premarital sex. That's the headline. And this, of course, takes place in San Diego. And this young lady decided that she was pregnant, and her supervisor called her into the office and said to her, "Are you pregnant? Don't you know you can't be pregnant and single?" So they fired her. So she decided to sue them. And to add fuel to the fire, they decided to offer her boyfriend, or fiance, if you will, a job at the same school. He didn't take the job though. But she is upset because she's saying he's the guy that she's pregnant for with his child, and they're willing to offer him a job, but he's the one who also had premarital sex with her. Wow, what a crazy country we live in. I am so amused at some of the things that you see online, and I go from various sites to get stories and check them before I even bring them to you. But I thought this one was absolutely insane. Now, why did the young lady take the job if she knew she was going to fornicate? And there is a history of the school firing people for getting pregnant while they're not married. So she knew that. So why then would you take a job if you knew you were fornicating? Why would you take the job? Just to aggravate the people and then go sue them now? I don't think that's right. Seriously, just like I don't think it's right for you to quit your job because your boss, who knows you're a worshiper on a Saturday and you shouldn't work, but he has a situation and an emergency and he's just asking you to do it this one Saturday. I don't think you should quit for that. And I don't think there's any pastor in any Sabbath church that will tell you to quit your job because of that. So hear me now. This young lady is suing the school. We'll watch to see how this turns out. I'm sure I'll catch it up. Happens, of course, in California. So if you know you're not going to abide by rules, because I try to be a person of rules. I really try very hard to do that. And if you believe and know in your heart that you cannot keep and obey the rules and the laws of the land, you shouldn't be there. You really shouldn't be. She should not have taken the job at that school because she knew she was having premarital sex. So why do it and then turn around and sue the school for dismissing you? That is their policy. The supervisor told her it's in the handbook. You signed it. And that leads to another problem with our people. We don't read. We don't like to read. But I know you're going to read my book when it comes out, Deadly Negligence, because you have to read it. You can't just go to the back and get the summary and get the story. You have to read it. Just like this, when you go for a job, my advice to you is whatever you're getting to sign, take a few moments and read what you're signing. If you are a minister in a church and you have trusted people that are doing your business and they push papers in front of you to sign, do not sign. Put your scribbles of Jack Lou, your circles, your whatever you scribble. Do not put it down until you read what you're signing. Because some way, somehow, sometime along the way, you might just be signing something that you would not really agree with. Always read what you're signing. Now, people get upset because you do that sometimes. They do. They get upset. Like builders, when you go to buy a new house, especially, They don't want you to read the fine print, you see. They just want you to sign the paperwork. And I'm one of those people who said absolutely not. Before I sign on the dotted line, I need to take this home because it's obviously not enough time to read that big document. I need to take it home and read every line. And when you read that contract that you have with a home builder, you will be surprised at the things that are in there, in the fine print that they don't expect you to see. Like they have a long time to deliver the house to you, even though they're telling you it's only 6 months. And a whole lot of other little stuff. So you need to be careful. And especially people who have secretaries and administrative assistants, and they become so comfortable with the people that they begin to sign things when they bring it without looking at it. Don't do it. I don't care how much of an executive you are. It should not be done. People should be reading before they put their signature on any document. Because I'm sure, I would almost be very, very sure that this young lady who is now suing this Christian school, she did not read the fine print. And in the fine print, as was pointed out by her supervisor, it was right there and she signed it. So I just don't even think there should be a lawsuit. She should be fired because that's the company's policies. Why do we always believe that we can go into a company and do our own thing? It's just like the Republicans, the Tea Partiers especially, who are in Congress. They just want to do their own thing, and it doesn't work that way. There has to be rules and regulations for everywhere you go. You go to a church, they have too many rules and regs. If you don't like it, step, keep walking. Don't stay and argue, just keep walking. Yes, you can ask questions like I normally do. But if you figure this is not working for you, just go. Don't stay around to try to sue anybody. And I'm sure the Christian school has to respond to this lawsuit. And it's going to cost them money. Money I'm sure they don't want to spend because based on how tight the economy is, they're probably losing students. So ladies and gentlemen, before you sign on the dotted line, read what you're signing. What are you signing before you sign? I don't care how much you trust the person, because even children have been known to trick their parents into signing and co-signing for loans that they didn't want to co-sign for. So keep that in mind, please. Anyway, another thing to squibble about today on the Diana Wright Show live online, Bloomberg Business Week magazine is under fire for racist cover. They have a magazine cover, you see, that depicts minorities in a house filled with cash. And here the way this goes. The cover shows an African-American woman with large lips. Aren't we supposed to be proud of our lips? I am. That's the reason I keep telling you, I love me. I love me. Say it every day. Look in the mirror. Love yourself. Be satisfied with who you are. So they use an African American woman with large lips. She's shown feeding the dog. In other rooms of the house, there's a Latino woman. And what is she doing? She's grabbing and holding cash. The cover headline says this, and I must read it word for word. Quote, "The Great American Housing Rebound. Flip. No lock bids. 300% returns. What could go wrong?" Now, I kind of agree with them because everyone was trying to be Donald Trump in the days of balloon mortgages, jumbo loans, to get people to buy houses that they know they cannot afford to buy because they know they cannot afford to pay the mortgages. And everyone is entitled, I think, to have the ambition to be a homeowner. I think that's a wonderful thing. And if that can happen, best, wonderful, great. But when the realization comes, some people just won't be able to do that. So, there's nothing wrong with the headline. It's just the way they presented it on the cover, with the African American woman with big lips and the Latino person grabbing for cash and holding on to it. The criticism of the cover have been plenty and swift. As a matter of fact, the Huffington Post described the cover as racist chic. Never heard that term before, but it's one that I'm going to hold on to. Have you heard of racist chic? So you can be racist and try to be chic at the same time? I guess that's what the Bloomberg cover was trying to do. Be racist and chic. And of course, there's lots of colorful things going on in the house. The roof is colorful. The body of the house is colorful. Everything is colorful. So, anyway, the magazine has apologized. Don't we love apologies? Don't we love when people do the wrong thing and they know they're doing the wrong thing and they apologize? What are you apologizing for? Are you apologizing because you got caught and you never thought anyone would notice? Or are you apologizing because you're truly sorry because you think you might have offended a few people? How about that? Wow. Okay, some other news from Israel this time. We're going all around the world here. Okay? So as we welcome you from around the world and in the United States on the Diana Wright Show Live, we have to go around the world. So we go around the world with this story. A 21-year-old Ethiopian-born beauty, with dark skin, no doubt, is now crowned Miss Israel. You heard me correctly. She is Ethiopian-born, dark-skinned, but she was crowned Miss Israel. She was brought to Israel when she was 12 years old, and you might be aware of the fact that Ethiopian immigrants have been arriving in Israel for a while, and they have had, lots of complaints. The relationship was not particularly good in their adopted home. They have endured hostility, they say, and discrimination. But this, you see, with a dark-skinned, Ethiopian-born, beautiful 21-year-old young lady, this that happened in Israel is being seen as a symbolic and moving moment. Wow. Yes, that is a wow moment. But before I continue, I want to remind you to go to your calendars and mark the date, October 5. It's the day that Save a Life Jamaica Foundation is asking you to save a life. And the person asking you to do this is the president of the organization of the foundation, Novelet Gale, and the organization, the foundation, is called Save a Life Jamaica Foundation. And that doesn't mean she only does her work in Jamaica. She is targeting the world, but she's starting small and starting where she's from and where she knows. So, as we aim to support her, we ask you to circle and save the date of October 5. I will continue to give you little snippets and even invite you to guess what do you think we're going to do on that day. Maybe you can. Put it on Facebook. Let me know. What are you thinking we're going to do on October 5? But what you know for sure is that on April 30th, it will be National I Love Me Day. So that we are sure of. You know exactly what you need to do on that day. And you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing every day until that day. And if it takes me the rest of my little life to convince you that loving yourself is a way to start anything and will get you through anything, I will do it. Because that is, my friends, my crusade. Loving yourself and teaching your children to love themselves conquers most and almost everything. Yeah? Very important for you to love who you are and whose you are. Yes. So, we congratulate that young lady. And the final story for this day is, okay, I'm going to go to, what is this now? I call this a story to keep your juices flowing or your mind going. All right? It is this: the 10 most sex-happy cities in the United States. And guess who came out swinging and won? Texas. Who knew? Governor Perry, you have the state that is most sex-happy? So most of the people in Texas are happy with their sex lives? Wow. Austin, Texas? Dallas, Texas? Houston, Texas? Arlington, Texas? Whoa, lots of sex going on in Texas. Then you have Columbus, Ohio, Durham, North Carolina, Denver, Colorado, Indianapolis, Indiana, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and California actually made the cut in Bakersfield, California. So that's how you have it today. And I'm just going to remind you that Michael Winans Jr. is going to the slammer for 14 years for conning a lot of you church people out of your money that you thought you invested. And he promised you 100% on your money in 2 months. That's a scam if I ever saw one. And ladies and gentlemen, in church, when you go to church and people come in to try to sell you stuff, if it's a book that you can buy, that's a different story. I'm talking about investments and a whole lot of multi-level marketing stuff. Pause, think, and know that there is no investment, unless you are Mitt Romney, that you can do and get 100% on your money in 2 months. I bet to tell you that you can't. On that note, I will say thank you so much for joining me. But before I go, how can I forget this? I'm forgetting something very important that's happening tomorrow. And it's Lenine Faith. She's launching her book, Shine Bright. And it's going to be done in Pembroke Pines at C.B. Smith Park, and that's at 900 North Flamingo Road. So if you live in Florida and you're watching the show from around the world and in the United States, or you're just happening to be taking a trip to Florida and you want to get to some free food and some fun for your family on Saturday, that's this Saturday, March 2nd. That's tomorrow, actually. You can check it out, and she'll be doing readings of excerpts of the book at 12, at 2, and at 4. The book only costs $9.99, so get your money out and hop on over to C.B. Smith Park tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and support Lenine Faith. And she is the young person of the month for our segment Young Power on the program, the Diana Wright Show Live. That's for February. So we're looking for someone to highlight for March. So if you know anyone, please don't be ashamed or afraid to call me at 561-228-1921. And don't forget to give us the thumbs up and the love and like on Facebook. Tweet us and join the conversation. Thank you so much for joining me. And of course, we say au revoir, adios, goodbye, and ciao until we see you next time on the Diana Wright Show Live online. We wish you a great day, a blessed day, and a super day. And if you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it was never, never yours. Have a great day. Be blessed, be blessed, be blessed. Be blessed. Be blessed, be blessed, be blessed.